Hello everybody, people call me Iggy, and this is Celeste. Let's go climb that mountain. At this point, I'm pretty sure that you have guessed correctly that this is a platformer. And the dash is the central mechanic, and oh boy, we'll use it a lot. But for now, let's just do as our friendly bird tells us, because the game won't continue until we do. If you felt like it, we could replay the prologue right now, but there's no point, there's nothing there, so let's just go right into the first chapter, the Forsaken City. Alright, let's go. This is Mount Celeste, a real mountain in Canada that exists, and on our journey up to the summit, we have some maneuvers to our disposal, such as walking, jumping, and, well, here is dashing. We can only dash once until we hit the ground again, and to indicate that, our hair turns blue. We can also climb, but stamina does run out eventually, so keep that in mind. That's all we get, really. Up there's a strawberry. All strawberries do is to impress your friends. And since if they really are your friends, there's no need to impress them, all they really do is to inflate your ego. A lot of the challenges in this game can be cleared multiple ways, such as this, like, very basic room that just lets you, you know, take different paths through it. What we see on the screen right here is a traffic light block. It does that. It also gives you momentum, in case it wasn't obvious. And the golden rule of this game is basically that chumps respect your momentum. Dash is resetted. And oh, come on. This is a winged strawberry. They fly away if you dash because they're afraid of going fast. So you have to reach them without dashing. That is, unless you have access to some more advanced movement techniques, in that case you could just do that. The only reason I'm showing this right here is to drive home the point that even though your 4 basic movement maneuvers, which is just walking, jumping, dashing, and climbing, there is some more nuance to it, some more advanced features, but the game doesn't really expect you to use them ever playing through the game normally. It does teach them to you eventually, and it does crack the game open somewhat. But yeah, I will be using some other advanced movement techniques too, mainly because it's difficult not to after you've gotten used to them, but I'll try to tone it down, especially for this first video. And eventually I will explain them before they are actually introduced in the game, because I think it would make the LP a bit more interesting if it could just, you know, take some more unique paths through the levels. Anyway, we just collected a diamond here. All it does is reset our dash in midair. So aside from touching the ground, we could also just collect one of those diamonds. And hey, that was a warning sign there, to be fair. But it still gets me every time. Or rather, I make a point of just walking into that trap because it's so funny. And for now, I will shut up for just a few minutes because there's the scene here, and I want you to enjoy it uninterrupted. Well, Theo seems like a fun guy. But that's all he says for now, although we will meet him again. for sure. But for now, let's just move on. This game gets compared a lot to other games of the genre, in particular Super Meat Boy, and sometimes by really evil people, I want to be the guy. But I didn't really like the former and actively hate the latter, so even though there are some similarities for sure, I wouldn't really be too deterred by it if you happen not like either of those games. Ah, what do I spy to the left there? A secret perhaps? Could there be an arrow pointing towards it? Indeed, who would have thunk? While the signs in this level in particular are usually just more decorative than anything, they sometimes do point your way. The game does try to be very nice to you here. Ah, what's this? Well, first off, this is what we do business called strawberry. We've been introduced, I believe. And then there's this monitor flashing its lights in a particular order. And these birds to the left, flying out in a specific order. So you are supposed to dash in the direction the birds are going in the order the lights are flashing. Yep, the correct order, of course, would be... let's see, I'm gonna figure it out in a moment. Ah yes, it is up, left, diagonally down right, diagonally up right, left, and diagonally up left. And for that we get a crystal heart. We can really just mostly bounce off of it, and that's kind of fun. It is no use though. Well, except if you bounce on top of it you get your dash back, but really what you're supposed to do is dash into it. You might now say this is really well hidden and kind of hard to figure out. So, no, it's not something you have to do. It's not mandatory for completion of this level, and in fact, it's completely optional. You never need it to complete the level or the story. But it does unlock something extra eventually. But as I'm sure you have figured out by now, the levels in this game are, while not really non-linear, they often have optional side paths. They very rarely actually branch out into different paths that lead back to the same point, but sometimes they do. Normally just, hey, this is more game for you to play if you want. Optional stuff. And the strawberry in this room is probably the hardest to collect in the entire level, because this is a really tight jump to make. Speaking of tight jumps, can you see that part with no spikes down to the bottom? Yeah, that's a secret. This is not how you reach it. But I'll show you, just trust me, this is how you do it. Well, one way. You can also jump to the platform or grab onto that pillar that's falling down. And use that to, you know, get a bit closer and have maybe a bit more leeway in your timing in general. But it really pays to keep an eye out in this game in general, because there's often secrets and stuff just telegraphed by small things like cracks in the wall or a gap in the spikes or whatever. Sometimes it's more obvious, of course. In that case the challenge is more the execution part, like the strawberry here. You can do it without dashing too, but like timing is kind of more difficult. This is another strawberry, you have to figure out stuff. Just another example. And while the game does expect us to go to the right there, let's first, of course, go to the part that looks least like progress. Now, the solution here seems obvious. We're supposed to use our momentum to get over there, but there's also that. There's light coming out of that gap, so you know there's something there, and it is a small rhythm platforming puzzle room leading us to cassette tape. And man, I remember those. I'm old. This collectible is called a B-side, and funnily enough, the icon actually says A, not B. This isn't exactly how cassette tapes work. But anyway, yeah, these unlock harder bonus versions of the level, kind of like the Dark Worlds in Super Meat Boy. So they're best played after completing the main game, probably, but I've seen people go through them as they unlock them. But really, in terms of their difficulty curve, you're not supposed to do that. Alright, now that we're back here, it is time to actually go to the right here. And that's a mean strawberry, because it's easy to screw up that jump, even if you know what you're doing. And another winged strawberry. While we did kind of break apart how to get the first one, this one isn't so easy to just kind of ruin, so do the proper way. Note the spite on the top there. This is really kind of to prime you to not let go of the traffic light blocks too soon, because it would launch you into the spikes. And that is very, very mean. And oh, looky there, fallen blocks. And if you actually look very close, you can see that there's like a path there, so yeah, and this is a fun challenge. I like this one. Just kind of, you have to dash in midair by recharging your dash with, you know, these little crystals. Here's our final momentum puzzle of the stage, and this is also the final room of the stage. Or chapter, rather, that's the game's terminology. But this here looks like a suitable resting spot, so for the time being, why don't we take a break? And that's it, chapter 1 cleared. And we have a cute little picture here. It is very endearing, like all of the characters in the game. And I've had the speedrun timer on for this level, mainly because I forgot to turn it off at first. I will turn it off for future videos though, because it might be distracting to some. Alrighty, let's tally up. Crystal Heart, cool. All the strawberries, very nice, and a couple deaths too. First time I probably had more like 70 or so on this level, by the way, just to give you some perspective. But we're not quite done yet. What I'm doing next is a speedrun of the first level. So if you don't want to see it, just close the video right now, it's fine. But here we go. The main reason I'm showing you this is to show you that just how much there is to the game. That, oh, these basic movement mechanics that are used to great effect in the game just have so much more to them. Most of these tricks I'm using utilize momentum in some way, and the game does actually teach all of them to you eventually, but that's post-game stuff. For just going through the game normally, the game never really expects or requires you to use any of these techniques for any reason whatsoever, but knowing them of course allows you to go through a level really, really fast if you string them together in the right way, like I'm doing here. This is not a top level speedrun or anything, because the world record for this level is like, I don't know, a minute 11 seconds or something crazy like that. I'm not gonna do that. But I am doing stuff here that I would never have thought possible when I played through this level for the first time. In fact, when I had beaten the game for the first time, or even like cleared quite a few of the post-game challenges for the first time. This really is stuff that you only really kind of have to ever get into if you really, you know, wanna. If you want more game to play, basically. And this is kind of a big part of what I like about the game, because this game actually got me interested in the speedrunning. I now understand way better why people do it, and you know, with this game I kind of am doing it. My best time is like 56 minutes and some seconds. But here we go, first level 130. This is actually a personal best for me. I would have expected that. But yeah, since the LP isn't really about me showing off or anything, I will only really do a speedrun for this first level and not for any of the others, most likely. Also mainly because this first level is the easiest to choreograph, it's the shortest, and also the easiest in general. But you know, if anything in this game ever seems too much for you, remember, just breathe, there's no need to be nervous. You can do this. And with that, I will take my leave. See you next time when we tackle Chapter 2, The Old Site.